Yeah. But a couple of weeks ago, if I had been home when they were down 33 points, I would turn the TV down real low, snuggle up for a nap for the afternoon, and woke up wondering what happened.
We can cut that part out.
Yeah.
I'll call the meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll have roll call, please.
Councilmember Waller,
Yes.
Selby, Miller,
Yes.
Phillipson,
Yes.
Mayor Heath.
Yes. Citizen comments. Seeing none, we have no public hearings. We have reading and approval of minutes from the December 13th regular meeting.
I will move approval of the regular minutes from December 13 meeting.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And we have the same condensed version for December 13.
I'll move approval of the condensed version of the minutes.
I'll second that. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. And we have the consent agenda consisting of the audit of city bills, gambling report from the American Legion, revenue and expenditure report, and the October 19th tree board minutes. And I will move approval of those items on the consent agenda.
I will second.
Any discussion or questions on any of the items?
Just a couple line items had a question on. Line 43, the Metro Sales Incorporated. Copier usage plan for $330. Is that a yearly fee or a monthly
Yeah, we
fee?
lease a copier.
Okay, just, that's an
So-
annual charge.
So, yeah, it's probably more than annual. Copiers are pretty expensive. That might be a monthly lease. I'd have to go back and
Okay.
look, but
Huh. Yeah, we went more or less paperless, but I suppose we still gotta have copiers, so.
Yep.
Line 55, that's a check for $2,674 that was wrote to Robotronics, the fire dog costume.
Yep.
I know that was for, I would assume for Fire Prevention Week.
yeah, and that's being paid for with some of that money that they got donated.
Okay, that the donations went to
Yep.
pay for that, okay.
Okay,
Must have been
any,
quite a costume.
yeah, yeah. Any other questions or comments on consent agenda?
None here.
All in favor say aye. Opposed? Carried. We have no petitions, requests, and communications. We have a resolution approving a 5-year lease with the Stevens County Historical Society.
Yeah, so this is just a renewal of the lease, and I had met with them a couple times because they had some questions actually about who's responsible for what. We own the building, we lease it to them for $1. They run the Historical Society onto that building, so, you know, all the building related stuff, mechanical, all that is ours, and all the stuff on the inside is theirs. You know, so they pay for cleaning and all those kind of things. And so they had a couple questions, and then I actually showed this to Aaron, there's some kind of weird language at the end of that lease where it talked about their heirs and everybody being responsible for it, you know, and more than likely that document got pulled from somewhere, you know, originally when it was made up and stuff, but that we made a couple changes like that. Otherwise, we're good for another 5 years then.
It's really a nice facility when you go in there. It's laid out really nice, got some
Yeah.
nice displays.
You do a lot of work.
Yeah, they do a very good job in there. Last time I met with the board at the Historical Society, I said, I'm not too happy with you right now. Because when you walk in a museum and you're actually in one of the displays, because they had a display on baseball in Stevens County, and so they had like VFW and Legion, and we're all in it. So
Yeah.
it's like we're officially museum pieces. which was kind of interesting.
Yeah, we're relics.
Well,
Yeah, but they do a very good job taking care of the facility.
And your point is?
it's okay to be a relic.
I'll move on that resolution approving a 5-year lease with the Stevens County Historical Society.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? We'll have roll call on the resolution, please.
Councilmember Waller,
Yes.
Selby,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Delason, yes.
Yes.
Mayor Heath,
We have a resolution appointing officers of the Morris Fire Department for 2023.
Yeah, so this, the officers that they elect within their group, then they send them to us and we approve them. The chief is every other year.
On opposing years, so they don't have a completely new batch.
Right.
Or the potential, so. I will move a resolution appointing officers for the Morris Fire Department for 2023 as listed.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? We'll have roll call vote on that resolution, please.
Councilmember Selby,
Yes.
Waller,
Yes.
Delason. Yes. Miller,
Yes.
Mayor Heath,
Yes. City managers report.
Yeah, I gave you some information about what's gonna happen next Tuesday with regards to the changeover in the city council and the mayor's position. So if you have any questions, now's the time to ask about that. We went back and looked, actually, I think you were signing minutes and you found minutes from back then when you took over as mayor and kinda how it worked, so. And then just keep in mind that last time you met, you decided to have a work session on the 5th Tuesday. So then that would be in January. So you have this extra one next week, your regular 2, and then there'll be a work session at the end. So it's actually a good opportunity to get whoever a new person is on the city council kind of dialed in if you need to do that. So that's something to think about. We had a very good work session with Jeff Kuhn, talking about projects, things like that. One of the things I put in here that I want to make special note of is I was contacted by SCMC and actually met with them last Monday with Mike Jacobson. They had their architect there, they had their contractor there, the head of nursing was there, their head of maintenance guy was there, the CEO was there. And they have a major issue with an expansion project on their emergency room. And you're gonna see this come up fairly quick. Cause there's a couple different things that we're looking at right now, and I've been working with Aaron. One of the items would be to vacate First Street between Columbia Avenue and Montana Avenue. And you might think, well, wow, that's how do you do that? But anybody that grew up here knows that Montana used to go through to South Street and the clinic was on the corner. And then they vacated that, and then they have that whole piece of ground. And they actually own almost all the property on the other side of First Street. There's a doctor that owns Twig Webster's old house that's on the corner. But we're looking at the utilities, what's in the road, what happens to them, what has to get moved. But when you look at, and you'll get a chance to hear all this from the hospital, but when you look at how a hospital is set up, how emergency room is set up, how they have to interact with all the different pieces of the hospital, whether it's the x-ray, the MRI, all those different pieces. And then the one thing that stood out to me, that's probably the most important thing, because I know I don't know if you were at the planning commission meeting when we talked about this, Kim, before. I brought it up to the planning commission probably a year ago or a little bit longer, because this kind of got floated out back then. But they're on a hill, and yet they own all this land down on the bottom. But if you build anything on the bottom, then you got to get everybody up the hill. So anybody that's been there knows that if you're parking, you probably got to climb some steps, or you have to drive up the hill to drop somebody off at the clinic and stuff like that. And so it's not you can't just move everything down to the bottom and do it that way. And yet at the same time, they have some issues with the emergency room that they have to deal with, especially, you know, after COVID hit and being able to separate people and being able to bring, you know, the ambulances in one place, people dropping off people that are injured in another place and stuff like that. So it takes probably a good couple months to do a vacation, or you know, at a minimum, when we first started talking about this, we talked about them being able to build up to the property line, which would require a variance. And then we talked about what if they had to go over the property line into the street, which they can't do. You can't do a variance on that. And then this whole thing kind of played out, and we'll be able to give you some really good information about what they're thinking about doing, and then you have an opportunity to hear from them as to why they want to do this. They're talking about, you know, doing construction this next summer. So it's kind of a short timeline, yet at the same time, for us, there's the issue of the procedural stuff, because we can vacate a street. I mean, that's technically something that can happen. And then there's the utility stuff, because we have to make sure we know and understand what utilities are there and how they get moved when they do it, and then having the easement to be able to watch over those utilities and fix them up again. But like I said, when you think about Montana going all the way through to South Street, all that stuff that was in there got dealt with as part of the vacation, and they take over responsibilities for that stuff.
So where are they? I'm confused at where you're looking at. What are they looking at doing?
So you know where the emergency room is?
Yep.
So
That's on
they're
First
gonna-
Street, right?
On First Street, they want to expand the emergency room
Out into the street?
out into the street, because they
Oh,
can't
okay.
go this way and they can't go
Go
that
down,
way.
because of the downhill.
Yeah, they
And then
can't.
the other side is
They
the
can't
parking lot.
put it on the other
Okay.
side of the surgery unit that they just built, you know, so that's the only direction that they can really go to make it work. You know, and when we first saw it, it's like, what? You know, how do we do that? But
Well,
then-
isn't that what Fergus Falls, their clinic, I mean, they just have expanded
Yeah, well,
over,
yeah.
taken blocks and gone
Yeah.
on streets and just
Yeah,
created
that
their
it-
own giant,
it-
gigantic block of hospital.
That's the way it works.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, it's one of the most important facilities that you have in your community, and that's what you have to do. But then you got to figure out all the little technical pieces to that too. And so it could be that, because technically, if we vacate the street, then the property owners on both sides get half, I think is the way it worked. Get half of it. Well, they're the property owner for everything but one lot, so they would actually get all the land in there, and then the whoever owns that old Webster house, they would get half of that, and then there'd have to be, you know, I mean, they literally could work out a deal to buy part of that and figure out what to do with it. And they're talking about having a little one-way driveway come through, and then they'd have parking areas and stuff like that, so. But I thought I'd give you a heads up, because it could be that at some point in January, I might be coming back to you with a ordinance to start that process to vacate, and at the planning commission, we're gonna be talking about this and probably one other item, with all that stuff maybe coming to a head in February and then coming back to the city council in March, so they can get going.
Well, it's a valuable asset in our community,
Yeah.
like you say, and the specialists all seem to be coming in to the smaller communities now several times a month to see patients, instead of the patients here having to commute somewhere else to see a doctor. So, yeah, I think we need to do what we can to continue building our hospital, or work with them.
Yeah, and we're gonna wait and see what happens with the legislature, so they're gonna get started here shortly, try to figure out what they're gonna do. So I would answer any other questions you might have about the newsletter.
On January 3rd, I'm gonna not be here for that meeting, so would you just swear me in the next meeting? Yes.
Okay. We have other business, 2023 licenses. There's a couple on there. I'll make a motion to approve those licenses.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
All the paperwork's in on these.
Insurance,
Yep,
okay, that's the only thing that
Yep.
would be,
yep, they're all done.
Okay, great. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. We have an increase to solid waste disposal fees for 23 and 24. Looks like another nickel for city and $4 for commercial. Anyway, it is what it is. We don't have to accept that, that's just is.
Yeah, it's just part of the agreement that we have this informational for you.
Okay, information.
We pay the Ingebrigtsens to collect the garbage, and then the county pays to have it, pays for where it goes. And so that's part of the agreement we have with the county.
Okay, any other information to come before the council?
Let me, if we would do composting and that would go somewhere else, it would reduce the amount that we would take to the, like, what is it, Gwinner or something like that, so it could potentially lower our rate from the county?
Yep, it's more expensive to haul it to Gwinner than it is to Pope Douglas, although there's a cost to haul it to Pope Douglas. You know, they have their fees for incineration and all that kind of stuff.
so it looks like it's almost twice as much to incinerate as it is to go to Gwinner, but the transportation has gotta be more. Because it's
Right.
93.67 a ton to go to the incinerator and 40.60 a ton to go out to Gwinner. But to transporting it out to North Dakota, but yes, if we have less garbage, it'd be basically cheaper, but the rates still are increased.
Right. Okay, anything else? Before I wrap this gavel for the last time, I want to thank some people. I want to thank my wife Kim for being with me and my family. It would be pretty hard to do this job without having some great support at home. Thank you to the citizens of Morris for entrusting me with the guidance for the city council for the last 16 years, and on the city council, I think, for 5 years before that. It's been a ride, for sure. Sometimes our decisions aren't popular, and sometimes they are. But know that we as the city council and the mayor are doing the best job that we can. Aaron, thank you for your guidance.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it when you walk in the door. Your foresight and hindsight, I guess, for actions that you speak on are very valuable.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome. Blaine, thank you for always being there as city manager, last 14 years, 15 years, 60, whatever it is. You know, it's one of my proudest moments when we open city council and we stand, and I get to stand beside you, a retired veteran, and say the pledge. I appreciate that. You might not know, when I first started coming to city council meetings, they didn't have the pledge. And I went to a Veterans Day program in a nearby school, and the kids have worked and worked and worked to memorize the pledge, and it just took me by surprise that they didn't do that every day, because I did, and I'm sure the rest of the council did. And I thought about it, and I was, running for a position on the council, and it's like, well, gee, we should lead by example. So I actually wrote a letter to the council and requested that should and could we do that, and the Pledge of Allegiance was added to the standing rules. So we do that ever since. And council, this council and all my past councils, I appreciate you guys. I don't think there could be a better group of people working on the council right now. So, good luck, and I know that you're appreciated. With that, I will close the meeting for the final time. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you.
Happy retirement. You're on speed dial, any issues arise.